Hello, this is Mrs. Taylor, and I'm going to walk you through how to change a quadratic from standard form to vertex form using completing the square. So here we have y equals 3x squared plus 4x plus 2, and I want to complete the square first to convert this from standard to vertex. And so the first thing I do is I move this constant of 2 to the left side over there with y, and I'll do that by subtracting it from both sides. So I would get y minus 2 equals 3x squared plus 4x. And then this is a case where a, which would be 3, the number in front of my quadratic term, my coefficient, it's a case where a does not equal 1. So I need to use GCF to factor out that 3 to continue my process of completing the square. And so when I factor out a 3, I would divide both these terms, the 3x squared and the 4x, by 3. And of course I'm going to get a fraction here, but that's okay. It just means you have a fraction instead of a whole number. So it would look like this. It would be y minus 2 on the left side still, and then it equals 3 times x squared plus 4/3 x. So the next thing I do is I complete my square. And the thing I have to remember when I add my squares in on the left and the right side is that if I factor out this 3 here, when I put my square on the left side of the equal sign, I need to have that 3 there as well. And so when I add in my squares, it looks like this. I have y minus 2 plus 3, and then I have my box, equals 3 times x squared plus 4/3 x plus my box. And so from there I figure out what goes into the box by taking my b term that's here with this trinomial in parentheses and dividing it by 2. And I know several of you are probably really leery of dividing fractions, so luckily our calculator will do it for us. So if you use your calculator, remember that fractions go in parentheses. And so if we wanted to do 4/3 divided by 2, I would simply put 4 divided by 3 in parentheses divided by 2. And I'm going to get a decimal answer, but if I wanted it converted to a fraction, I would just hit math. The first option is convert to fraction, so I hit enter again, and there is my fraction. Now, to find what goes in that square, that box, I divide b by 2 and square it. So all I have to do is, since I've already got b divided by 2, I just hit x squared, and it takes whatever this answer was and squares it, hit enter, and I get the answer in fraction form, so 4/9. So 4/9 is what will go in these boxes. So now we have our 4/9 plugged in. And at this point, I do two things. I simplify on the left side, so I combine all my like terms, all my constants, and then on the right side, I take what is in my parentheses, my trinomial, and convert it to a squared binomial. And so the way I would do that is I would take b and divide it by 2, which I've already done, and that would be what would become my constant in my binomial. My binomial. So it would look like this. After simplifying the left side, I would get this y minus 2/3. And if you're unsure how to combine those constants in your head or using, scratch work on your paper, your calculator will do it for you. So what I did was, this is negative 2 plus 3 times 4/9, so that's what I put in my calculator, negative 2 plus 3 times 4/9, exactly how it appears on my paper in my calculator. And of course I got a decimal, so all I did was go to math, hit enter twice, and it gave me the converted fraction. And then on the right side, I'll replace that trinomial with my binomial. Remember, 4/3 divided by 3, or excuse me, not divided by 3, 4/3 divided by 2 in fraction form is 2/3. So I took my b value, divided by 2, that becomes the constant in my binomial, and I would replace this trinomial with that binomial squared. So it would look like this. y minus 2/3 equals 3 times x plus 2/3. Oops, I forgot my square. There it is. So that whole process of taking this trinomial and replacing it with a binomial is based in the x puzzle. So if I had completed the x puzzle for this trinomial, my result would have been x plus 2/3 times x plus 2/3. And so it's a shortcut. I just take the b, I divide by 2, and it goes here. If it's positive, it's plus. If b is negative, it becomes minus. So I'm almost done taking my standard quadratic equation, converting it to vertex form. The last thing I have to do is move this constant of negative 2/3 to the right side. And so since it's negative 2/3, I would add it to both sides. And so my result would look like this. Y equals 3 times x plus 2/3 all squared plus 2/3. And that would be my final answer. That would be my quadratic equation in standard form.